My name is Deidre Kennedy, and tonight's host for Pacifica Historical Society's show, Footprints in Pacifica. This is the show that explores the lure and the lore of lovely Pacifica, its character and characters. Tonight's guest is Clorinda Campagna, longtime Pacifica resident and owner of Gypsy Hill. Good evening, Clorinda. Thank you for joining us. Glad you're here. When I think of Clorinda, it's a lovely name. Could you tell us about it?
Well, the story is that when I was born, my dad was reading some Italian literature, probably something from the 15th, 16th century, about Clorinda e Tancredi. And she was a very brave woman, and a very early opera was written about her and Tancredi, and so my dad decided to name me after her.
Clorinda is a lovely name, and when I think of you, and I think of three things: music, good humor, and enthusiastic hard work. Your voice lessons began at a very early age, I understand.
Oh, yes. I was in the 6th grade when I actually began singing lessons. Mm-hmm. And that was in Hackensack, New Jersey.
Yes.
But I was always singing.
We have a picture of Clorinda in early years.
Oh, I'm singing.
Yes.
You want to know what I was singing?
Oh, sure.
Getting to know you, getting to know all about you.
And we have another photo from Hackensack, New Jersey. And this one is?
Yes, there's Frank Sinatra and Robert Alda and me.
Yes.
In high school. Notice that I'm on crutches. They were doing, these two wonderful artists were doing a fundraiser for the What's It Club, which was in Santa Clara, and it was for the youth center. It was a youth center.
And you went to, when your parents came out to California, then you went to San Jose State.
Yes, I did.
And what did you major in there?
I majored in music, and I ended up majoring in music and education.
And why was that?
Well, my dad decided that he asked the question, how are you going to earn a living singing? So we were practical. And so he said, maybe you should get a teaching credential. So I had music and education, a double major.
Excellent. And you also, during the time soon after, you had made your debut at the San Francisco Opera?
Yes. That was a little bit after that, yeah.
Right.
Probably about 5 or 6 years after.
And what opera was that?
Well, when I sang at the Opera House, it was the opera Prince Igor. And I did Yaroslavna, the princess, and it was in Russian.
So you had to learn Russian for that part?
Yes, I did.
My goodness. There are also other companies that you sang with, I understand?
Yes. The West Bay Opera Company. I did Un ballo in maschera, the masked ball.
I have that picture too.
Yeah. Yes, that's the scene where she has to go and find this potion, the special herb that is going to cure her of her things that were bothering her, everything, like her love for someone and the attraction, because she was already a married woman.
Oh dear.
So that's wonderful. That's Amelia.
Yeah. And you also sang in Zurich, the Zurich International Opera Center?
Yes.
And as far away as New Zealand?
Yes. That was wonderful in New Zealand. I loved living there, and I did a number of broadcasting concerts as well as concert on stage. Mm-hmm. It was a wonderful experience.
And this is a picture of you during your opera days.
Yeah. Early days.
Yes, just beautiful. And this picture was seen by someone very special in your life.
Yes. There were a number of pictures of me in the newspaper.
Yeah.
For a period of time there, a couple of weeks.
And how did you come to meet Sebastian?
Well, he called me up. He saw my photographs in the paper, and he decided he wanted to meet me. He calls me on the telephone and said he wanted to take me out and wanted to get to know me. So I said, well, I don't know you, and I am not going to go out with you. And besides, I don't have time. I'm singing this week with the Santa Clara Philharmonic, And as you saw, you've read in the papers, you said you saw my picture in the paper. So I'm doing a lot of singing and I'm teaching. So I have a lot to do. I don't have time to go out.
Just like
if you want, you can come to the concert if you like.
All right. And the rest is history. Yes.
I guess you can say that.
Think how much easier it is with Facebook. Did you sing together?
Yes, we did. There were a few concerts that we did together, and we did a couple of operas together also.
And as your parents came from New Jersey to Santa Clara Valley?
Yes. And this is a passport picture coming from Italy. Mm-hmm. And yes, I grew up in Hackensack, New Jersey.
Yes, and
that's my oldest sister, who was born in Italy.
Yes.
My mom and my dad.
Mm-hmm. And when you came, how did your father decide to come to California?
Well, he always had a dream of having a farm. Mm-hmm. Although he grew everything there in Hackensack, New Jersey. We had lots of relatives who lived in New York, mm-hmm. and they came to the country when they'd come across the George Washington Bridge.
That's true.
Which is where we were.
Yes, and they came to the beautiful Santa Clara Valley. And what kind of a orchard did they have there?
We had, in Campbell, we had apricots.
Yes.
And then in Edenvale, we had prunes and walnuts. Lovely. And then in Stockton, we had cherries.
Lovely.
So Dad, he had his dream, and it came true for him.
Oh, indeed. And you were surrounded by a loving family and lots of music.
Yes.
Yes. And then later on, you and your husband, you successfully raised 6 children.
Yes,
and
we did.
Yes, and this is a picture of Sebastian.
Yes.
And then we also have a picture of
all 6 of them.
Yes.
There's.
And this is where the good humor comes in. Because as one of 6 children myself, I understand there's a lot going on. and you have to keep your sense of humor.
All the time.
Yes, yes. And these 6 children are now grown, and you have a chance to relax a little bit. Mm-hmm. And how many grandchildren do you have?
9. There are 9 grandchildren, yes.
What a blessing, all of them.
And that picture was taken when we first came here to Pacifica.
Yes. All right. Well, you're good. They're all adults now and on into their own lives. And you came and settled at Gypsy Hill.
Yes.
And there's lots of things that have gone on in Gypsy Hill. You know, I understand you planted quite a few trees there.
Yes, we planted probably about 2,500 trees.
My.
And everyone helped. The children, Sebastian, showed them how to plant these trees, and we did it.
Right.
We had pipes that went down the hillside, and we carried hoses and connected them to the hose bibs, and we nurtured those trees, every one of them. So,
it's a beautiful forest now.
Yes, it is.
And what kind of pines? Are there pines there and cypresses?
We had Monterey pines and stone pines, Italian stone pines, and canary pines. So we just had wonderful. The trees have just grown beautifully.
Yes.
A lot of the pine trees have died because of the canker disease, but there's still plenty more coming up.
Great. All right. Then we have other things that have happened with your family through the years. We've had a wonderful opportunity to participate in Pacifica swim team, the Sea Lions.
Yes, all the children were on the Pacifica Sea Lions.
That's we were too as children. It's a great opportunity. They're still going strong.
Yes,
our Sea Lions are still going strong. Then, all right, we have more. Did you want to talk more about your music career?
Well, I could. There's lots of things.
Yes, yes. Tell us about your music teachers.
Well, my music teachers were wonderful. I started singing lessons when I was in high school. No, in grade school, 6th grade. When we moved out here to California, I had a wonderful teacher in Campbell, and I had lessons all through high school. I continued through college with a wonderful teacher at San Jose State in the music department. And she was a contralto, the other was a soprano, so I got the best of everything.
And one of your teachers in San Francisco was a dear friend.
Yes, I ended after I left teaching, after teaching for 4 full years, I won this contest.
Yes.
And I used the money to participate in opera workshop, which I had never done before. And that was with one of the earliest conductors, women conductors here in America and around the world, Antonia Brico. She was wonderful. So she taught me how to kind of forget about me and think of the characters that I was singing about.
Because you still sing today, you had a wonderful foundation.
Yes, I did.
You've,
I'm
retained
very
your voice
grateful.
all through the years. It's a marvelous thing, and we're lucky to have that happen. All right, so there's more. We have more information and lovely footage of Gypsy Hill, where you live now, and some of the things. So we are going to go to that footage.
This is Sharp Park Road here, and then Gypsy Hill goes off in here, goes all the way, so that Gypsy Hill property is all of this. That's the water tank, belongs to North Coast County Water. And Gypsy Hill is all of this property here. This is Francis, and this is Clarendon Paper Street. And all of this is Gypsy Hill, all of this in here. North Coast County Water tank is here, goes off to what I call the Water Road. This is a family home here, Raskin property. This is another family home here. Gary Oakes lives there now, and this is my home down here. This was the Eisen House, and they built that house first on Gypsy Hill. And when they built this house, Gypsy Hill Road did not exist. They brought all their materials up from Francis around this way. Whichever way the contour of the land made it easier for them to bring the materials up. This is a turnabout right here, an emergency turnabout. And this house, at the moment, I can't remember their names, the Barretts. The Garrett house, that's the house. The Garretts built this house. They had kennels, and we owned this property here too, because all of this was residential, but we were asked to change it to commercial. And across the way is the Pastorino property, and it's a farm, a flower farm, I believe. They plant a lot of flowers here. We planted trees. We planted close to 3,000 trees on this hillside, all over. We put a pipe system. We had a water meter along here. We had a water meter. We planted a lot of trees, probably about 2,500 trees altogether. And even along Sharp Park Road, we planted trees along Sharp Park Road. And we nurtured them. And they have created a forest in the meantime, all these years. And actually we began planting the trees even before we lived on Gypsy Hill. We were renting 3 different places here in Pacifica. And as we acquired some of the parcels, we began planting trees here. So that's why now there's some beautiful trees, beautiful forest area on Gypsy Hill. One of the main reasons for planting so many trees also was not only to enhance the property, but to enhance it so that there wouldn't be any erosion. This is quite a deep gully here, and even in this area here there's a gully. So we planted trees all down into these gullies too, just to prevent any further erosion that might happen. It was one of the dreams of my husband that when we got different parcels on this property, that other people could enjoy the ambiance of living up here on Gypsy Hill, which is quite a beautiful spot.
That's a lovely, lovely story about Gypsy Hill. How did you choose Gypsy Hill for a name?
Well, we didn't choose it. It was there. And I think it could be because of the history of Pacifica. There were lots of farms here many, many years ago.
Yes.
And I think the farmers hired or had gypsies come and work in the fields. And they probably camped on Gypsy Hill. And that's probably how the name came about.
Another tidbit of Pacifica history. Thank you. So on to the enthusiasm and hard work that you're so well known for. After the Campagna family became settled on Gypsy Hill, you started to concentrate on sharing your music skills with the community. Could you give us some examples of that?
Well, I would do cantering in church and also in the schools. Especially Good Shepherd. I did the little children's choir, did all the music there in the schools, just volunteering, and in that manner, that's about it.
What holiday pageants did you participate in?
Christmas and the Christmas pageants and the spring pageant all the time. I did that for quite a few years there.
Oh, indeed. And you also organized choirs, I understand.
Yes, especially in the school.
And where did you sing the national anthem?
Well, I would sing the national anthem at the swim meets.
Yes, Pacifica Sea Lion swim meets.
Yes.
Excellent. And so you also participate in the Chapel by the Seas Memorial Day?
Yes, we have a Veterans Memorial celebration there.
Yes.
Every year. Started out with the Vietnam veterans, but now it's all our veterans.
It's a wonderful,
wonderful
presentation.
It's wonderful to remember them all.
Yes, and we thank them and continue to thank them for their service. Also, during the 4th of July at Frontierland Park, there's another events going on that you help with.
Yes, and that's coming up pretty soon. I've organized for a few years since Paul Azevedo. When he passed away, I just continued his legacy of reading parts of the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence. And so I organized students and some adults, and I tried to have organizations represented and a student from all the schools.
It's a wonderful way to remember the holiday.
So we're still doing that. So come 4th of July,
All right.
we'll be doing it again.
Great, we'll be watching for you. You've also sponsored the UNICEF campaign.
Yes, I didn't like my children going out for trick or treat for candy. I confiscated anything they brought home, and this was even before we came to Pacifica.
Okay.
But I organized it in all the schools. The schools were very cooperative, and most of the schools here in Pacifica have taken part in it for years. We've raised over $50,000 probably in the years that we've done this. The wonderful thing about UNICEF is it gives the children an opportunity to think about other kids other than themselves. We take everything for granted. We've got running water. We have everything. And there are children in 150 countries in the world that UNICEF participates and helps with medicines and schools and any disaster. UNICEF is always there.
And you've been doing this for 23 years.
Yes, and Pacificans have been very generous. It's wonderful.
You've also served on, and are still serving on the Open Space Committee.
Yes.
And you're incidentally your children, and you were accepted an award posthumously for your husband, Sebastian's
Yes.
work. And then we also have an award here that you received
Yes.
in 2010.
Well, both were a wonderful honor to receive this for Sebastian. He had a great vision for Pacifica, and he worked hard for the Chamber of Commerce, getting members and so forth. But I was honored to receive what they gave me.
Yes.
It was wonderful.
We're very proud for you. Thank you. You also began participating in Relay for Life. Could you tell us the story how that began?
Well, that began because my first grandson, who at the time was a 5th grader, he got cancer, lymphoblastic lymphoma. It was very scary for all of us. And this is how I got involved with the Relay for Life. That was, he became ill when he was, I think that was about in 2004. And he was
11?
invited to their relay in Gardnerville, Nevada. And he didn't want to do it. But then he said, this is fun. I'll hold the banner, and he was right there. So from that point then, I organized the class that he would have graduated from at Good Shepherd, the 8th grade class. I organized them to be team members. And we had adults, parents, and parishioners became involved through the years from 2006.
That's coming up soon.
Yes. And we're having another relay on July 14th and 15th. It's a weekend. And we hope a lot of you come. It's a citywide event. And I want you to know that Pacifica is a $1 million city, meaning that in 2010, we raised from the time it began, I think was 2000, was the first relay. We have raised over $1 million.
That's
actually $1.010 million.
Extraordinary.
So we have a wonderful banner that we display, and it shows that we're a $1 million city. We have a lot of generous and caring people here.
Yes.
It's wonderful.
And we also would like to mention that you've worked tirelessly for the Historical Society, Pacifica Historical Society. You helped save the Little Brown Church from the Wreckers Ball.
Well, I was part of it. I mean,
yes.
Because there were people before I ever got into the scene. But when I read that it was going to be, and we had to go through an election, I remember calling the city manager and saying, "Why do we have to have an election? This is a historic building. It belongs to us."
Yes.
And so I got involved, and there are many people so dedicated to turn this into a museum.
Yes.
And we're working very hard to open the doors to this museum.
It's not only going to become a museum, it's also going to be a center.
Yes, it'll be an area where groups can gather on a personal basis, individuals, organizations. And the big thing is we can pull our treasures out of all the boxes and all the places where they're being stored right now.
Yes.
I'm always saying they're screaming to come out of those boxes so that everyone can enjoy the treasures of the coast here, and especially to learn about Pacifica.
Oh,
The
indeed.
history of Pacifica.
And
It's very colorful.
Indeed, very colorful. We have a picture of you in part of the work we were doing at the castle, and that's one of our major fundraising efforts. We have castle tours coming up for the first part of August.
Yes.
And there you are with a crown, and
I think that was taken on the very first time that we had it, which would be,
Right.
5 years ago, I think. Or this is our 5th year of having the castle tours.
yes, so that's a wonderful part of what we do, raising funds to open the doors
That's
of the
right.
Little Brown Church Museum Center. Could you tell us what the partnering campaign's all about?
Well, I got the idea that we just have to reach out to everyone. We can't do this by ourselves, even though many of our members have contributed generously to the project. But it was time to really get this entire population here to be involved in the renovations. We need money.
Yes.
And we still do. And so we've had, in the year 2010 was the 100th anniversary of the Little Brown Church. We had a wonderful ceremony for that, and some people were able to go into the building just to take a peek. They couldn't get much over the threshold, but to see what was going on. And now we've come along, we've got a lot going. As a matter of fact, the city was very nice to let us have our first rummage sale in the building, even though we don't have occupancy yet. But the center part of it is pretty well. It's everything is stable.
Yes,
that's for sure.
Is.
And so we raised some money for this first rummage sale, and I think I can say over $3,000, which was wonderful for 3 days of our
Beautiful
work.
gift, a beautiful gift.
And
from
we're
everyone.
hoping to have more.
And it helps the citizens declutter.
That's right.
Great.
And we want everyone to help us. Every dollar helps.
It's the second weekend of every month.
Yes.
We have the rummage sale for 2 days, and everyone's invited. And we'd also like to mention that at your time on Gypsy Hill, that you've encountered some wild animals up there.
Oh, yes. Bobcats. And of course, the deer.
Yes.
They will eat anything that's in bloom.
Oh, yes, they will. We have deer too. Well, that's just about all we have time for. If you would like to get involved with the Pacifica Historical Society, our address is Box 752, Pacifica 94044. Our web address is www.pacificahistory.org. Our telephone number is 650-359-5462. Thank you for watching our show, and we'd also like to remind everyone that the lives of great men all remind us we can make our lives sublime, and departing, leave behind us footprints in the sands of time. That was from Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, 1838. And as we're closing the show, we'd like to present Clorinda singing La Boheme in one of her performances.